Hi, thank you so much for being here. My name is Kara Goodwin, and I'm the host of the Meditation Conversation podcast, which is soon to become the Soul Elevation podcast. I think we've got maybe 2 more weeks or so. I think I have 4 more episodes of the Meditation Conversation. Then we'll switch over to Soul Elevation, and I'll be releasing podcasts twice a week for the next couple of weeks. I'm just excited to be able to switch over to Soul Elevation, and I have 4 more great episodes of Meditation Conversation I want to put out first. So look forward to that. So today, what I wanted to talk about is some of the one particular thing that we might get ourselves caught up in that can kind of keep us stuck in paralysis, really. And that's perfectionism. And so, what I've been sharing in the last few episodes, or sorry, the last few lives that I've done, is that we've been in my house kind of helping my daughter through a medical issue. And so, I have been heavily involved in her process in her day-to-day interactions as she heals from this, um and I know that it's really hard for her to not be able to do a lot of the things that she's used to being able to do, and I'm having to act as a proxy for her, and I can see the frustration when she wants something done and she knows how she would do it, and she's gotta do it through me. And, sorry if you hear my dog in the background here. I've been telling my daughter lately, 80%. Let's just get 80% of the way there and not try to make everything 100% the way that she would like them done. And I think that this applies to us in our own lives as well. I try to remind myself 80% is great. And so what I mean by this is we can get so fixated on wanting things to be perfect or feeling that things need to be a certain way. And what can happen is something called analysis paralysis, as an example, where we want to make sure that we're doing the very best thing. So we do all of this research, or we want something to be just so, and we keep moving it around, and it's kind of there, but it's not quite locked in yet. And we just keep fussing and fussing and fussing with it. And we never, ultimately, we always end up settling because life is just this human experience where there really isn't one perfect way to do something. We might convince ourselves that we've found a perfect way in the past. Usually, upon reflection, we think that one time that I had it perfect, that's how I want it now. But there is no perfect thing for anything, I would argue. I'm sure things can be really precise, but Um, I would argue that we give up a lot in the pursuit if we have this type of mentality where we're seeking perfection and precision, and it's keeping us from being able to actually implement things or actually step forward, actually act. We may be the type of person where we have to plan everything. We feel like we have to plan everything to exact specifications before we actually take action, but we end up never actually, or it takes a lot for us to actually take that step where we're actually doing something. We can have this even in um, our own life where we may never actually, maybe we read a lot of books. Let's say we read a lot of books. I remember in my 20s, I loved horses. I lived in England, and I loved horses, and I would go and ride horses, and I really, really wanted to someday have horses and have a horse farm. my priorities shifted over time. That never happened. But when I was kind of in this dream state of like, oh, someday I'd like my life to be where I take care of horses, I would read all these books about what it took to have horses. And I really enjoyed those books. And so it wasn't wasted time per se, but you could be in this cycle like I was, where you just keep learning about something, but you never actually put it into practice. We can do this with spiritual texts where we really enjoy reading about the virtues of ascension, the practices that help to shed um, to shed the old patterns and shed the old density so that we can ascend into a higher density. But actually, we keep reading the theory, we keep learning about the practices, but we're not getting up any earlier so we can fit meditation in, or we're not actually forgiving people. Like when the rubber hits the road and things show up in our lives, we're not actually making the connection between what we've studied, what we've read, what advice we've been given from a spiritual perspective, and how we're actually living our lives. So it's this like planning and never executing, or this fiddling around with things, just keep adjusting things, um, keep doing things, but never actually being like, okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. And right now I'm writing a book, and my book comes out in March, April sort of time. And I've been writing this book for like 3 years, and I feel a little bit like this with my book, um, because it's just been this this preparation. It hasn't gotten out into the world yet. And so there's a part of me now that is like, let's just move with it. We could fiddle around with these sentences for, until the end of time, and just keep adjusting them, and maybe they get a little bit better, maybe they don't, but I'd rather this just get out into the world. So, um 80%, this is my hope for all of us, that we can hit this 80% mark and be able to release any ideas of needing to be perfect, analysis paralysis, these things that we just keep ourselves stuck and spinning and not moving forward, but we just keep adjusting things a little bit, and thinking like one of these days it's going to get perfect, and then I can release it. Either I can take action on it, or I can stop fiddling with it, or whatever that means. But really consider how much you're just cycling, and it's not actually improving anything, versus um, versus actually taking action, or things being good enough that you can move on. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you so much for being with me today, for watching this recording. And I wish you a beautiful weekend ahead. Namaste.